Hey everyone! Welcome to another High Guardian Spice review. I'm gonna be straight up with you before you even get into this video. This episode is boring. Basically just a whole episode about someone apologizing. Similarly to the first episode, it feels like a filler episode. Like it doesn't really matter. I guess the purpose of it is to make it so that Sage and Time grow closer together, while at the same time Sage acting as though they're already close, and acting as though Time has betrayed her in some way by not standing up for her. I guess you could also argue that in this episode maybe Snapdragon and Rosemary Parsley grow closer, but not really. Let's get into the episode. So we start off with Sage checking out her new terror sphere and trying to practice new magic with it. And the first thing that she wants to practice is flying on her terror sphere. Now keep in mind, she already has a magic broom, so this is not necessarily a useful thing to practice if you already have a flying broom. I don't know why you're trying to fly on your terror sphere. But I guess maybe the purpose is to show that new magic is different and that it's harder to control, so she has difficult, or maybe it's not harder to control, but just that she's not used to using it. So she goes out of control into the air and she has to be saved by Time, who saves her using old magic to move the tree branches in front of Sage and catch her. Seems like that would still kinda hurt, but they don't even really have a real conversation after that. She's just kind of like, oh wow, thanks, I'm not used to new magic yet. And she's like, yeah, I don't mess with that shit. That's actual dialogue.
I don't mess with that shit.
So I guess theoretically, Sage kind of feels a connection with Time because she also does not use new magic. But it doesn't really feel like they're friends in this scene, nor does it ever feel like they're friends in other episodes, more like acquaintances. Anyway, so getting further into the episode, we cut to one of Sage's classes. Remember that old lady professor who tried to kill them in the second episode? She's back, and yet again, she's letting her students almost get killed. Oh man, what a great character.
Guardians mustn't worry about their limbs. Only the limbs of wisdom and honor.
Meanwhile, because we have to know what every single character is doing in every episode, we cut to Snapdragon being paired with Rosemary and Parsley to work on a school paper.
None of this is helping.
It's super boring, and the whole episode could only benefit without it. Amaryllis gets paired with Sage and Time to work on their project.
What is your problem? Problem? What is your problem?
Where they're basically just supposed to, like, I don't know, cast some kind of spell on these evil plants and then behead them so that they can use their buds as part of whatever magic they're going to be doing in the future. Now it's kind of weird because the old lady is super coming down hard on Sage. I mentioned this before when in episode 2, Sage is first coming to her classes. Amaryllis bullies her and Carol just kind of laughs it off, doesn't stand up for her at all. It's kind of a similar situation to that, where this old lady is, well, not only just laughing off the bullying, but participating in the bullying.
My mother taught me that as magic gives to you, you must give to it, or the balance will be destroyed.
Balance. You've got a terrasphere now, haven't you?
I mean, yes, but...
Do what you want, Sage. But the history of Guardians demonstrates that those who don't adapt are doomed to obsolescence.
Just like I said, Slab.
Sage wants to use old magic to try to do this assignment because she's not used to the new magic and she doesn't want to mess anything up. Makes sense, right? And this old professor is just harassing her, like just mocking her and mocking her traditionalism and old magic. And she's like, why would you go through all that trouble when you have new magic? It really comes off as insensitive and rude. So everyone else is done in the class, but Sage is having issues trying to use old magic to do the assignment. Amaryllis just finishes up and then goes to complain to Sage for taking too long. It's pretty funny. Like, right when she finishes, she's like, why are you taking so long, Sage? She's using old magic. What's your excuse for taking so long? And during all of this, Time is just drawing in her notebook. Like, she's not even participating in the assignment. 0 participation points. I don't know why the professor doesn't say anything. Probably because she's a dumb bitch. So Sage wants to use old magic to do it, and she asks Time to help her, but Time just kind of like shrugs it off like, no, I'm not gonna help you do anything. I'm too busy drawing pretty pictures in my notebook. So Amaryllis does it for her using new magic, and she's like, I didn't want to do it that way. And Time kind of blows her off like, so what? It got done. To which Sage, I kid you not, runs away crying. I guess due to the frustration of not having someone who understands her problems, you know, she thought that Time was with her on this and she wasn't. Then we get this scene with Time and Amaryllis, and Amaryllis is just like so over the top in this episode.
I'm not the one that made Slab cry. That was all you. Good job.
It reminds me of those like parody bullies from really old cartoon shows where like they have the international bully meetings. She is now the president of the international bully meetings is what I'm saying. Like, she literally praises Time for bullying her so well, and literally all Time says is yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah?
Yes.
Such great bullying! Oh my god! Anyway, Sage goes in a classroom to cry. As it turns out, this just is the crying classroom, I guess. Because she runs into Parnell, who is already crying in the classroom, and he explains it's because his cousin's being mean to him or whatever. So he helps her practice with new magic in a little montage. I don't know why he's helping her. I mean, he's really no help because he has no idea how to do anything with new magic. Magic is not his particular thing, but for some reason this scene is with him. I guess because there are no other characters where she can practice new magic with them.
Yeah, new magic is my geography.
Now the best thing about this episode is the fact that Slime Boy is in it.
It's all in the wrist of your brain.
And that's about it. Now meanwhile, everyone is looking for Sage because they hear that she ran off crying, and they spend the whole episode looking for this girl. She wasn't even hiding. She's literally just in an empty classroom that wasn't that far from where she ran away crying to begin with. But for some reason, they have so much trouble finding that girl. You know, usually elves are especially good at tracking. So Sage bit off a little more than she can chew with practicing new magic, and now she's created kind of a mess in the classroom, and she's not exactly sure how to undo everything. Why she can't just use old magic to fix this? Literally while they're looking around for Sage, Rosemary, who is supposed to be Sage's best friend, she heard that Sage was crying and she keeps on getting distracted. Like, she literally looks down an endless hallway and she's like, I'd rather do that than look for my crying, depressed friend. So ridiculous. I just had to mention that. It has nothing to do with the rest of the story. The scene can be entirely cut out and it would change nothing. Anyway, they finally find Sage. Now once again, Sage is just acting like they were already friends and like Time betrayed her, even though that's not really how. I mean, we've had like 4 episodes before this one, right? Nowhere in those episodes do you ever get the impression that they're actually friends. They're more like, okay, every now and then we like talk to each other a little bit. It's not even a full conversation, you know? But anyway, Time apologizes, and then, okay, everything's hunky-dory. Sage is able to undo the magic chaos because the power of apologizing! Oh, if only that worked on Twitter. Rose, Snapdragon, and Parsley finish their paper on the spot. Amaryllis is just there. She contributes nothing.
Amaryllis, you're adding nothing to this equation.
And yeah, I guess that ends the episode. You know, as the episode is ending, we do get a scene of Time and Sage actually talking to each other in a way that feels more natural, like the way friends would talk. But before all of this, we never really had many scenes of them talking more than 2 words to each other. So it's just super out of nowhere that they pretended they were already friends. And yeah, that was High Guardian Spice episode 5. As you can probably already tell, nothing really happened. It's kind of a nothing episode. It's more filler. Great, wonderful. The power of apologies in a show that's supposedly made for adults. I don't feel like it's a bad idea to have a Sage-centric episode, but aren't there other conflicts that you can introduce to have her, like, learn to use new magic better?
I feel like this could be going better.
Yeah, yep. Hard agreed.
Rather than just being like emotional conflicts, rather than her just being bullied by Amaryllis, who doesn't grow at all by the end of the episode. Like, Amaryllis is just such a 2D insert bully here character in this episode. She's so over the top, it's fucking laughable. Even Snapdragon really isn't as bad as her. Like, I know that he's supposed to be a bully too, but he seems more like sarcastic than actually taking pleasure in bullying people. And his crush on Sage really doesn't progress any further in this episode. He's like more concerned about finishing up the paper than hearing that Sage was crying. What a naturally blossoming romance you got going here. If you enjoyed, like the video, comment your own thoughts down below. Subscribe if you'd like to see more reviews. I'll keep them coming. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye!
Program restart.